thought my son was exaggerating about his teacher, but then I sat in on class. My son Elliot is 9 years old and has always genuinely loved school. He's the kid who wakes up excited for Monday mornings and actually enjoys doing his homework at the kitchen table. So when he started coming home upset every single day, refusing to talk about 4th grade, I knew something was seriously wrong. Mrs. Pemberton hates me, he finally said one night at dinner, pushing his food around his plate. She calls me out for everything I do. She embarrasses me in front of everyone constantly. I did what parents typically do in these situations. I told him teachers have hard jobs and bad days. I said maybe he was misunderstanding her tone or taking things too personally. I suggested he try harder to follow instructions and stay on her good side. My husband nodded along in agreement, and we moved on to discussing his upcoming math test. But the complaints kept happening week after week. Elliot stopped raising his hand in class entirely. He started getting stomach aches every single morning before school. His grades dropped from straight A's to C's and even a few D's. When I checked his homework at night, it was always perfect. When tests came back marked wrong, the answers matched the textbook exactly. I emailed Mrs. Pemberton requesting a parent-teacher conference to discuss my concerns. She responded 3 days later saying that Elliot had behavioral challenges and significant difficulty accepting correction from authority figures. My sweet boy who had never gotten in trouble once in his entire school career. I requested permission to observe the classroom during instruction time. It's a parent's legal right in our district with proper notice. The principal approved it reluctantly after consulting with the school board, warning me that Mrs. Pemberton was a 30-year veteran teacher and very well respected throughout the community. I sat in the back corner on a Tuesday morning with a notebook in my lap and my phone recording in my purse. For the first 20 minutes, everything seemed completely normal and professional. Mrs. Pemberton taught a lesson on fractions with clear explanations. Kids answered questions enthusiastically. Elliot sat quietly in the 3rd row, not drawing any attention to himself whatsoever. Then she asked a question about denominators, and Elliot raised his hand eagerly. She looked directly at him, made eye contact, and then called on a girl sitting across the room instead. A few minutes later, Elliot raised his hand again with the correct answer clearly written on his paper. Mrs. Pemberton sighed audibly so the whole class could hear and said, "I suppose Elliot wants to show off for his mommy again today." A few kids giggled nervously. Elliot's hand dropped immediately and his face turned bright red with humiliation. During independent work time, she walked around the room checking papers and offering feedback. When she reached Elliot's desk, she picked his paper up, studied it for a long dramatic moment, and announced loudly enough for everyone to hear, "This is exactly what happens when we rush through our work instead of taking our time." She put it back on his desk with a disappointed shake of her head. I looked at his paper from where I sat in the back. Every single answer was correct and clearly written, but she hadn't marked anything or offered any actual feedback. She just moved on to the next student. Another boy at the neighboring table had the exact same answers written in messier handwriting and received a "good job" sticker and verbal praise. The double standard was impossible to miss. At lunch break, I approached Mrs. Pemberton calmly and asked if we could speak privately in the hallway. She smiled tightly with no warmth in her eyes. "I assume you saw that your son needs significantly more structure and discipline than he's currently receiving at home." I said I saw her publicly humiliate him twice in 1 hour.